Riding high on the wave of his presidential victory, Thaddeus Ross enjoys the ensuing accolades, yet his daughter, Betty, remains unforgiving of his past actions. His team has repeatedly tried reaching her, but she hasn't responded. In his acceptance speech, Ross characterized the election as one of the most pivotal in the nation's history. He references the chaos, from half of humanity's disappearance to the emergence of a massive celestial being from the ocean. Given the current uncertainty, unity is the best path forward. Almost immediately, the media scrutinized his past, focusing on his controversial Hulk fandom and questionable past actions. Ross maintains he is reformed. Meanwhile, Sam Wilson observes the broadcast. During a press conference, Ross, now president, hinted that his relentless pursuit of the Hulk defined his career, but cost him his relationship with Betty. 5 months later, Waka, Mexico. Joaquin Torres is collaborating with Sam Wilson, Captain America, on a secret operation. To avert the theft of a mysterious container, President Ross dispatched them himself. The orders are explicit, the contents are confidential. Cap bursts into the rendezvous, finding guards instead of the buyer, and immediately engages them. The package's security is paramount, but the situation escalates upon discovering Serpent Leader's involvement. The villain, radiating arrogance, threatens to execute a priest and praying priestesses, taunting their belief. He sneered, stating he wasn't there to pray but to find out from the priest the buyer's location. The command echoes when the priest declines, "Exterminate them all." However, his actions are halted by a resolute voice that pierces the silence. Captain America. Serpent Leader immediately orders his men to eliminate him while he secures the package. Immediately engaging, Sam swiftly neutralizes the enemy soldiers. Joaquin Torres, spotting Serpent Leader fleeing with the package, promptly informs Sam, who gives chase. Unyielding, Cap confronts Serpent Leader, informing him his buyer hadn't appeared. With a smirk, he proposed seeking more lucrative clients, but the villain, unperturbed, dismissed it as irrelevant. Sam boasts a formidable fighter, but even he is no match for Captain America. Joaquin Torres recovers the package, ensuring the mission's success. President Ross visits his late wife's grave, honoring a promise to Betty. Despite their strained relationship, his deep affection for her motivates his awkward attempts at reconciliation. Despite his changes, she remains distrustful, and with his first 100 days nearing, securing a crucial treaty is paramount. Captain America, meanwhile, deduces the buyer's plan to betray Serpent Leader. He spent $50 million to divert the container, under the radar, to Japan for a later pickup. Joaquin Torres seeks Sam Wilson's guidance on living up to the Falcon legacy. Hoping to guide him, Sam brings him to Isaiah Bradley, seeking a mentor who exemplifies true heroism beyond physical enhancements. President Ross calls Sam during training. Upon Sam's return, Isaiah confronts him, questioning his loyalty to Ross and recalling the president's history. Sam defends his actions, stating his proximity to the White House enables him to monitor Ross and intervene if necessary, adding that an informant will alert him to any dangerous moves by Ross. Sam reveals he received a White House invitation for his and Wen's mission following their discussion. As a gesture of gratitude, he invites Torres to accompany him, urging him to wear his suit and expressing what an honor his presence would be. Isaiah agrees after a pause. That night, Sam, Wen, and Isaiah reach the White House. Isaiah, walking through the halls, couldn't resist a sarcastic remark about the oddity of being inside the Beast's house. Oblivious to the security cameras capturing their arrival, the trio pauses to take a selfie, commemorating the moment. Soon after, Sam is summoned to President Ross's office. Ross, grateful for the container's recovery and its importance to his treaty, stuns him by requesting Captain America's help in reforming the Avengers. Undaunted, Sam reminds Ross that he caused the team's disintegration, making reconciliation difficult, yet Ross remains adamant that they must reunite. He contends that the Avengers are a symbol of the nation, and their absence would have resulted in a far greater loss of life during the recent crises. He urges Sam to give it more thought. Prior to his departure, Ross introduces him to the Japanese Prime Minister, and they promptly take a photograph together. Before Sam leaves, the president adds a final suggestion, that he contemplate joining forces to benefit the country's future. That evening, President Ross spoke to the room's elite. With gravity in his voice, he announced the celestial masses' emergence from the sea and their groundbreaking discovery, a feat achieved after determined efforts and the most important of modern times. He explains that the material they discovered, called adamantium, surpasses even vibranium in strength. He reveals the recovered container held some of this valuable metal, and thanks to Joaquin Torres and Sam Wilson's successful mission, they now have a unique opportunity. The international community's future hinges on its response to this discovery. With international cooperation, equitable adamantium distribution can benefit all nations. Suddenly, gunfire interrupts his speech, plunging the event into chaos. The sudden burst of gunfire from Isaiah Bradley shocked everyone. Sam and Wayne immediately chase after Isaiah, but others join the pursuit. Police are in hot pursuit. Finally, they trapped him, Recognizing the seriousness of the situation, Sam begged him to stay, explaining that fleeing would exacerbate the problem. He urges him to surrender peacefully. Left with no alternative, Sam goes directly to President Ross. Although surrounded by agents, he prioritizes fighting for Isaiah. Impressed by Sam's resolve, Ross dismisses the agents but keeps his security advisor, Ruth, nearby. Sam defended his friend, asserting Isaiah couldn't have acted alone. Ruth added that Isaiah wasn't the only one firing. The Secret Service and the military had also opened fire. The evidence points to a coordinated terrorist attack. Sam argued that Isaiah was disoriented at the time of his arrest. He pleads with Ross to assist in the investigation, but the president, icily, rebuffs him, stating he's given enough and refusing to risk further sacrifice. Ruth then discloses the painful truth behind Isaiah's possible motivation. She reminds Ross that he imprisoned Isaiah for years, subjecting him to cruel experiments and treating him as less than human. Nevertheless, Sam refuses to believe his friend is guilty. Despite his renewed determination, he agrees to Ross's previous proposal to collaborate on finding the truth, only to be instantly rejected. He unequivocally stated the offer was rescinded the moment his friend attempted to kill him. He argues Sam's involvement is inappropriate, as he is not Steve Rogers. After delivering his instructions, Ross granted Ruth complete authority over the investigation and, with a wave of his hand, dismissed Sam. As he exits, Ross throws out a dismissive "son." The word stung Sam more than any accusation, not just because of its tone, but because it reinforced Ross's lingering perception of him as someone he could condescend to. Seeking the truth, Sam Wilson visits Isaiah Bradley to uncover the real story. Upon meeting, Isaiah swore he would never repeat such an action. He doesn't even understand his behavior that night. Looking strained, he recounted his day as completely normal, a visit to the barber, suit pickup, and then accompanying them to the White House. He felt uneasy about it from the start. He hesitated before leaving. He vividly recalls taking a selfie upon arrival, after which a strange incident occurred. His phone suddenly malfunctioned. Later, they were led to the East Room, and he found himself inexplicably in the park, with no recollection of his journey. Sam listens intently, assuring him of his belief in his innocence and their commitment to uncovering the truth. Isaiah, however, is resigned, telling him that regardless of guilt, escape is impossible this time. Knowing he faces conviction, he anticipates spending his life imprisoned. The most helpful thing Sam can do is leave, assuming he truly wants to assist. Simultaneously, Ruth interrogates the agent responsible for Isaiah and Sam's conversation. It's suspected a similar fate befell the snipers who fired on the White House. Meanwhile, Ruth reaches the same conclusion after reviewing classified reports. Was it all a trap to lure them there? The buyer was likely watching them from the beginning. Sam, now suspicious, directs one to dig deeper into Ruth, the president's security advisor. However, a sudden attack interrupts his train of thought as soon as the call ends. Bullets streak toward him. Gustavo Fring fires with deadly accuracy, then, presuming the job is done, seizes Sam's phone and reports the target's elimination. Sure of victory, he readies to dispatch evidence of the kill. What he did not expect. Captain America is always anticipating his opponent's move. Instantly, Sam lunged forward. He taunts him with each blow, insisting he's powerless without his equipment, failing to grasp Cap's intuition. Sam ambushes Fring with a swift, brutal blow, leaving him fatally wounded. Fring chuckled humorlessly. He croaks to Sam, his voice faint, that Sam fought well, but the consequences will be dire. Elsewhere, President Ross convenes with world leaders to complete the Adamantium Treaty, though disagreements soon surface. The leaders doubt his leadership, given his lack of control over his own country. A chill settles over the room as the conspicuous absence of Japan's prime minister, crucial to the agreement, is noted. His absence signals Japan's reluctance to sign. Given the current uncertainty, international leaders have postponed negotiations. Ross is warned that he risks being excluded if he fails to regain Japan's trust. His administration is increasingly unstable and on the verge of collapse. When informs Sam of his discoveries regarding Ruth. Trained in the Red Room after being born in Israel, she is a black widow. Therefore, he cautions Sam against underestimating her or obstructing her. Upon reviewing the footage from that night, they made a strange discovery. Isaiah had Ross targeted but, inexplicably, didn't shoot. That alone is suspicious. Of greater suspicion is Samuel Stern's possible involvement. With this new information, Sam tells him to prepare. They're going in together now. Ruth arrives at Isaiah's, intending to meet an agent, only to discover a massacre. The agent who aided Sam has murdered all the snipers and then committed suicide. The radio keeps repeating the same eerie tune. Seeing this, Ruth resolves to relocate Isaiah to a safe haven across the globe. While traveling to Japan, President Ross learns of Sam and Wen's departure from their base. he immediately orders their interception, regardless of the expense. Meanwhile, Warden Koopa from Isaiah's former prison tries to reach the president, but the call becomes disturbingly unsettling. The gunshot is followed by Samuel Stern's voice crackling through the comms, a voice Ross recognizes instantly. Stearns, with his usual calculating tone, reminds Ross of a familiar-sounding melody. He then icily rebukes Ross for abandoning him to prison, asserting his newfound control and foreshadowing even greater suffering to come. When it ends, Ross will be universally despised, particularly by his daughter, Betty. Immediately alarmed, Ross contacted Ruth, who was still transferring Isaiah. He commands her to abort the mission and proceed to Camp Echo 1. The situation has become critical. Sam and Wen reach the camp, only to find it eerily silent after disarming a series of intricate traps. Abandoned and devoid of prisoners, the camp offered no sign of life. Advancing further, they discover something far more disturbing: a clandestine laboratory, a research facility concealed within the prison's confines. That's not just unusual, it's deeply suspect. Further investigation revealed records confirming Isaiah's past imprisonment there, sparking further inquiries. Upon returning to Japan, Ross finally meets the Prime Minister. Ross was actually planning to steal the metal inside the container. Forcing a strained smile, Ross tries to brush off the accusation, reasoning that he wouldn't have tasked Captain America with recovering the adamantium if he had intended to steal it. The Prime Minister, however, is not persuaded. He stated sternly to Ross that Japan would not participate in his treaty and cautioned him against independent action. As Sam searches the lab, he finds an unsettling note: 3 pills daily, do not overdose. My instincts tell me something is off. Walken persists in his investigation into music's potential for mind control. He uncovers a subliminal frequency within Mr. Blue, intended to control listeners. Reacting swiftly, he modifies the signal, negating its impact. He freely confessed to employing Serpent Leader for the container theft, yet his real intention was Ross's assassination. Resentment hardened his voice as he recounted his story. Sam learns from him that Ross unjustly imprisoned him and, following a gamma radiation accident that irrevocably changed his mind, the government secretly exploited him for 16 years. Ross, ever ruthless, leveraged his intelligence to secure the presidency, continuously dangling the false promise of eventual liberation. Once Ross achieved his objective, he promptly abandoned him. Despite Sam's attempts to appeal to reason, pointing out that Isaiah was being implicated and further actions would harm innocents, Stearns remained unmoved. Ross believes he's gone too far to turn back now. Unexpectedly, he mind-controlled a squad of soldiers to attack Sam and Wen before calmly escaping. That's when Ruth arrives. She was unwilling to participate, but circumstances have forced her hand. Her movements were precise and deadly, each strike showcasing the lethal efficiency of a Black Widow. Once the threat was gone, the three quickly retreated. Ruth suspects Stearns hasn't traveled far since his recent escape and proposes establishing a perimeter to locate him. However, before they can react, perimeter guards surround and arrest them under President Ross's direct orders. Sam and Wen know the soldiers' demeanor will instantly change the moment they hear the music. Stearns has assumed control. Capitalizing on the chaos, Ruth liberates them, and they flee together before the situation deteriorates entirely. In Japan, Ross resorts to a drastic measure. Failing negotiation, he intends to seize the adamantium by force. Taylor, his agent, cautions him that invading Japan would unleash an unprecedented war. Ross isn't listening though, he's already decided. In America, Sam, Walken, and Ruth sought help from an unexpected source, Serpent Leader. After tracking him down, Sam requests a private conversation. He stated sternly that the Serpent Leader, in their last meeting, vowed to find the man who wasted his time. That man was Dr. Samuel Stearns. Serpent Leader agrees to talk, intrigued, but demands total unity as a condition. Having exhausted all other options, Sam agrees to listen, finally uncovering the truth. He uncovers a subliminal frequency within Mr. Blue, intended to control its audience. Reacting swiftly, he modifies the signal, negating its impact. Samuel Stearns is revealed as the mystery buyer. He freely confesses to employing Serpent Leader for the container theft, yet unveils his actual aim, Ross's assassination. Resentment hardens his voice as he recounts his story. Ross imprisoned Sam without trial, and the government secretly exploited him for 16 years after gamma radiation permanently altered his brain. Ross, with his characteristic ruthlessness, leveraged his intelligence to ascend to the presidency, perpetually dangling the same hollow promise: freedom upon gaining power. Once Ross achieved his objective, he promptly abandoned him. Despite Sam's pleas that Stearns' actions were involving Isaiah and would harm innocent people, Stearns remained unmoved. Ross believes he is past the point of no return. To quit now would be the greater error. He unexpectedly mind controls a squad of soldiers, turning them against Sam and Wen, then calmly escapes. That's when Ruth arrives. She was unwilling to participate, but circumstances now compel her. Her movements are precise and deadly, dismantling attackers with the cold efficiency of a Black Widow. Once the threat was gone, the trio quickly retreated. Ruth suspects Stern's recent escape means he's still nearby, and she proposes establishing a perimeter to locate him. However, before they can react, the perimeter guards surround and arrest them under President Ross's direct orders. Sam and Wen anticipate what will happen. The soldiers' demeanor will instantly change upon hearing the music. Stearns has assumed control. While they are distracted, Ruth frees them, and they escape together before things get completely out of hand. In Japan, Ross resorts to a desperate measure. Failing persuasion, he intends to seize the adamantium by force. Taylor, his agent, cautions him that invading Japan would unleash an unimaginable war. Ross, however, wasn't listening. He was determined. In the United States, Sam, Walken, and Ruth sought help from an unexpected ally, Serpent Leader. After tracking him down, Sam requests a private conversation. He stated sternly that the Serpent Leader, in their last meeting, had vowed to find the man who wasted his time. That man's name was Samuel Stearns. Serpent Leader, intrigued, agrees to talk, but insists on total unity as a condition. With no other choice, Sam agrees to listen, finally uncovering the truth. Years ago, Serpent Leader's unit discovered Stearns and, concerned by his state, prescribed medication to stabilize him. Ross, however, manipulated Stearns by increasing the dosage, controlling him as a means to seize power, echoing his treatment of others. He falsely promised freedom upon becoming president, a promise he never intended to keep. Secretly funded by Ross through a bribe, Serpent Leader fueled Stearns' vengeful plot to orchestrate Ross's ruin by manipulating him into starting a war. Most concerning, Stearns has created a technology enabling him to control anyone. The revelation spurs Sam into immediate action. He heads straight for the White House. The time has come to confront President Ross. President Ross is directly questioned about whether he's been feeling different recently. Stearns is, disturbingly, controlling him. Ross's visits to Camp Echo 1 are documented on multiple occasions. Cornered, Ross confessed. His health was failing, his heart was giving out, and doctors were baffled. Stearns discovered the cause and its solution, a life-sustaining pill regimen. Ross, in exchange, permitted him entry to the Camp Echo 1 lab. He couldn't risk losing his only hope of survival, but that wasn't the whole story. Stearns became a scapegoat after the Hulk's destruction. Even with all of Ross's contributions to the country, his daughter Betty, whose opinion he cherishes above all others, has never forgiven him. He had to hold on to prove he could still be good. An urgent report interrupts the conversation. Two agents, brainwashed by Stearns' music, are attacking the Japanese fleet. Amid the crisis, Ross commands Sam and Wen to defend the Japanese forces and avert military retaliation. Stearns exerts more control over Ross's thought. Though he speaks softly and says the pills are helping, a deeper problem persists. Ross's buried anger and resentment continue to burn within him. He needs self-acceptance, not pills. However, they both understand the reality. Ross's pill addiction is permanent, the consequence of his refusal to confront his underlying issues. Sam's immediate reaction is thwarted by misfortune. After Keen falls into the ocean, the base alerts Sam that a rescue team is on its way. Driven by the imperative to avert a full-scale war, Sam presses onward despite his exhaustion. The Japanese Prime Minister ultimately discovers Captain America prevented an international crisis by saving his life. Days later, Sam visited Wen at the hospital. The Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, is also present. In a grave tone, he stepped forward to offer Sam support, urging him not to blame himself and assuring him that everything would be all right. Inevitably, the conversation shifts to Steve Rogers. Sam confesses to feeling overwhelmed as Keen is injured, Isaiah remains incarcerated, and Stearns evaded capture despite being within reach. Steve might have erred in passing the shield to him, a decision Bucky disputes. Despite the serum, Steve couldn't always protect his loved ones. Birding was never easy, but it remained worthwhile nonetheless. Having said that, Bucky leaves, needing to catch his flight. Ross is absorbing gamma radiation from Stearns' pills at an alarming rate, necessitating a constantly increasing dosage. His advanced technology triggered instant cardiac arrest, killing the man. Eventually, Ross connects with his daughter, Betty. She answers, this time apologizing for her silence after the White House attack. Although one is recuperating in a new location, he remains despondent. Sam says the key is not perfection, but honoring the faith of those who rely on him. The crushing pressure stems from the persistent doubt. Is my best even enough? He admires Sam's perseverance.